Tuned in to www.oghuskyradio.com, broadcasting live from the east side of Los Angeles, worldwide. Special guest tonight, I'm going to say legendary, and actually done a lot for hip-hop, and they both roll their eyes at me, and that's how it rolls. But go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Blossom.
Petal, LOD.
Phantom Street Artists.
And with that, you guys are involved in an event. Go ahead and speak about it. That's going on now. It's a huge monument in the graffiti culture and hip hop. I'll say that's going on right now at the Getty. Go ahead and let them know what's going on. We have going on over there.
Word. You know what? I just want to say something before we get started. I just want to say that, mad love to Husky Radio, because you guys have been down, like, helping me do shows for the community and hip-hop shows, and you guys always have my back for, like, mad years. So I just want to say much respect.
Good looking out.
For sure. We were fortunate to be involved with the Getty Black Book project that took place, like, pretty much last year, where there was, like, a Black Book of LA writers for the Getty Museum. And right now there's a show at the El Segundo Museum of Art, the ESMOA, and it's called Scratch, and it's featuring some of, like, the dopest OG graffiti writers from LA. So.
And the three of you are featured in it, right?
We are featured in the book, and Blossom and I are 2 out of 3 females. It's us and Sherm that are in the book, because women are, like, a very small percentage of graffiti writers. And so, yeah, they asked us to kind of do something on the women in the graffiti book, and we were like, well, we'd like to do something on the women from LA that have, like, put in work in graffiti. And so we ended up doing a little event as part of the Scratch Show, the current exhibit that's going on right now. It's going on till September 21st. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend.
Anyone involved in any form of this hip-hop culture, you definitely have to go and experience what is taking place at that museum. It's like 2-story high, top to bottom, indoor painted, and they actually have, if you're familiar with the Getty, they have the book actually in protective glass, and anyone that goes to any show with the Getty, that they're archiving it. So this is going in archive, like, amongst hundreds and thousands of books that they have already archived art. So to have Los Angeles graffiti artists featured in that book, and for them to consider that is huge, and congratulations to all of you that are involved in it. It's a huge you know what I mean?
The book's name is Liber Amicorum, and that means the Book of Friends, and it's going to be at Scratch till September 21st. Right? So whoever needs to get out there and check that out, let's get it done before our book goes back into the vault.
Yeah.
The only reason why this book came about is because of the first Liber Amicorum, and that was from the 1600s, right? 16
Even earlier,
whatever, and now we're 2014, and here we go. We got our own.
When you guys got into the art, did you, like, see that happening? You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna be a respected artist featured in a museum, or what was, like, the original part of when you started doing it?
Well, for me, when I started doing it, I was like, I wasn't thinking about any of that. I was just like, fuck the system, But I kind of felt like we were part of something we didn't know what it was going to turn into. It always, like, hip-hop always felt so big and, like, growing so fast, and graffiti was just so inspiring that it seemed like, it was going to be this, like, underground world that just kept growing, but I never knew it was going to take over the art world and, like, become an interest of so many people,
My perspective of this particular movement and the value of its importance is that it's born from dissent and oppression. And so what makes this work so important is, like, we have female graffiti artists that see the world differently in such a unique way that it brings a breath of fresh air to the art world. And what makes this artwork and art so important is that essentially it challenges its institutions in question. The more oppressive the individuals, the more powerful the work is.
Phantom street artists, you have taken stance and gone against the grain when museums of a high caliber of that nature have featured it and have left people out. What has changed that, or what was difference with you getting involved in this event and this?
The difference is, it's very obviously a difference. We have individuals such as Shepard Phoney, we have Fakesies, we have the Double Deitch Bust. Those people are in this fucking business to make money. There's no money incentive in this. This is pure art form that stands and challenges its very institution in question. And that's what makes this artwork much different, much more valued, a much more greater value in its community. It represents its community, and it's also one thing that's really important about this particular work is that this particular group of artists are picked by its colleagues. And that's the difference. Jeffrey Deitch, Shepard Phoney, Fakesies are all contrived, and they're fucking picked up by a commodified system. And this show answers MoCA, Art of the Streets, which I call cashing in on the streets.
There it is. For anyone that I just had him here and I had to ask that, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because anyone who goes, you can see the walls there and go through the book, and you'll see that what he's saying is true, because the people that are featured in that book are people that weren't really featured in the MoCA event, and that have definitely impacted Los Angeles graph. But even with that, like, you got to figure out
And
how
on
much
top of
it's
it,
impacted the world.
they never even showed the women artists as well. So we have two women here that are the OG representatives that go back historically, that have great prominence and great recognition and great respectability. Props to Blossom, props to our girl Petal as well. And these people are the building structures of tomorrow's future. I guarantee you that the great work that's going to come out of it is going to come out from the people that are the most oppressed, which is right here in this room.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think that speaks to a lot, because women are definitely, women are definitely oppressed in a very direct and clear way in society in general, and especially in the art world. Like, I was shocked to find out how, I knew graffiti, we were like 1%, but in the regular art world, like the mainstream art world, I guess it's like 10%, 15,
Wow.
and in art schools, it's like at least 50-50, there's a lot of women in art schools. But I want to say something about the book. I really think that book should have been like twice as thick, because I have a lot of like people I have major respect for, like Sleaze and Chaka, who aren't in the book. And so, it does a really good job of sampling some of the dopest graffiti writers, and I'm really honored to be a part of it, and honored for my homeboys that hooked it up, which was Duke and Heaven, really hooked us up in getting in that book. But there should have been a lot of other people in that book, and I'll say that. And there were some people in there that weren't graffiti artists, and they might be prolific artists, but I question whether they really belong in a graffiti book. So, those are
It's just the
things
nature of archiving it, though. They'll always, not necessarily a bias, but a perspective, I guess. Is it we
can't
just
get
gotta
everything
start? Yeah, is
on the
it
first try.
that we gotta start archiving it ourselves? Is that kind of what we have to do? I mean, let's look for a remedy. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
We do archive it ourselves in real black books.
Yeah.
Because although we consider it, the Liber Amicorium, and it's their book of friends, it's not really ours. It's going into a vault. It's gonna be gone.
Because part of what we do here was to archive it and to give the outlet to give. We've had the honor of interviewing you for years. You know what I mean? And the progress of the growth of you as an artist, and it's an honor to to see at that level. That's what we're doing this for, is to archive it and to have the story. With that, you had a discussion on open discussion on Saturday. How did that go? You guys, you had go ahead and talk about it. I mean,
Las Amazónicas show.
Yeah, Las Amazonas. You want me to start? I thought it was really dope. People just think that because we're female writers, all the women featured in the show, which, God, I need the flyer in front of me, but it was like Omega, Chalk, Blossom, Fuss, Necess, Jerk, Diva, Jade, Cuddles, um, so many more.
I need to give
Fetish,
Demai,
Berry,
Demai NTS a shout out and Pinky
Remove,
QWS a shout out.
There was a gang of women that put in work. That if you wrote, then you saw these women up, and so these are just all women from over the last like pretty much 20 something years in LA graffiti, and we don't necessarily go kick it with each other because we're female writers. Like people have that misconception like there's some kind of female writers club. Like it's not like that, man. This is like the low key kind of lifestyle where we didn't, you had to get to know somebody before you wanted to get to know them beyond seeing them on the street and shaking their hand, So it's taken all this time, and we've all built these bonds. And between me and Blossom, we know all these women, and we're lucky too, and we all have great relationships and great respect for each other. And so we were able to make this happen because for the homegirls that bombed and they're not really into like museums and art shows and stuff, they did it because number one, we gotta write our own history. That's the most important thing. And I really appreciate archiving and broadcasting and what the kind of work that you guys do in that sense. It's really important. But also, those women that are writers that don't care about the art world, they wanted to support all of us that do, and I think that's really dope that they wanted to come out and have our backs, like, because they want to see us doing bigger things, and they want to paint now. They're all like pumped to come back out, like, So I mean, a lot of the women that are in the presentation are still active, but I'm talking about even the ones that weren't, So
For
fresh.
As women, the cliche, is it harder? And the second part of that question, though, is do you feel yourself having to present graph as a feminist point of view because you are not represented as much as the men in it?
First, no, it's not harder. It's equally the same, as hard as it is for anybody else. Girls can do anything, boys can do better, right? So I don't think it's hard at all. And what's the second thing you asked? Do we need to represent?
Yeah, is it like a
Feminism
feminist point
stuff?
of view?
You
feel like you have to?
No, there is a responsibility to what you're representing on the streets. You know what I'm saying? And given that a lot of us feel we're connected to our Tlacuilos fucking energy from our ancestors, I think that there is something that we want to represent. It's not necessarily feminine viewpoints, but I think that that could take different streets. It depends who the person is.
But do you feel like a responsibility because you guys are? I mean, you got to figure only 3 in the book of over 150 artists. You know what I mean? Like, do you feel
that was a fluke? That's somehow went wrong. That's the only reason why that happened.
Because
we weren't selected.
Bro, that's typical. We're not on most. There's most walls in LA that are big, giant, dope productions. At the most, have one wall, have one female on it. So I feel like it is harder to get access to space. It depends. I know for me, it's been a mission, to get access to space, and I think it depends on who you're connected with, and like I know when I was like solo for a long time, it was harder for me to get walls, but I gotta shout out the WAIs and the UTIs have been always hooking me up with dope walls, and then once I got in LOD, I started getting a lot of love from people wanting to hook me up with walls, and so that was really dope. Shout out to my crew, But I will say this about the feminist thing. I just want to represent like truth and help to bring balance, and that might sound idealistic, but I'm a grown woman now, I'm not like, I don't give a fuck, I'm in the street. Like, I want to bring some balance, I don't want all the women to have to go through the shit that I went through in the street period, but the reality is there's an imbalance. Like, the feminist movement is not something that it's like woman power because we just want it. It's necessary to bring balance. Like, women are not empowered on an equal level as men in the society, and this is one of the more advanced societies in the world. So when we get opportunities like the one we got at SMOA, we got to take it and we got to share it with as many women as possible to get as many feet in the door as possible. And that's
absolutely,
and I'll say that I started writing in the early 90s. I met Blossom and got named Petal in 93, and that was her philosophy. She was always spreading that, and that's really dope because it extends, you know?
I feel that that break that they cut us and how we ended up there was definitely a shared experience. That was not like, there was no way to just like hog that. That was a shared experience.
Yeah,
That's why we call the rest of the troops. We might not kick it every day, but we might not even see each other for years. But some of them women, like, they did what they did, and they needed that credibility, man. Like, people on the street are like not recognizing that, you know, these females did what they had to do, and as peers to the rest of the graph community.
Once again, you're tuned in to OGHuskyRadio.com, live every Thursday night. Special guest tonight, Blossom Petal and the Phantom Street Artist, who gave a thumbs up for the event.
Every man should be supporting female graffiti artists. Every OG, every veterano should be out there supporting these individuals, because the culture is essentially misogynistic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Very. I mean, let's be honest, you know.
Oh yeah, it's very misogynist. But we get a lot of support from a lot of dope dudes, and their support is way stronger than all the haters hating on us. You know, the hateration is just like
Duke One in
don't waste
heaven.
your time. Yeah. Yeah, Duke One in heaven.
I can't even stop shouting their names out because they made this possible. Like, they took a risk. They said, you know what? Toma, handle your business.
And
Fuck
Blossom
what everybody
told
else is
me,
saying.
I'm not gonna be like, you know, I'm not into talking shit, so I'm not gonna say any names. But Blossom told me that there was a couple dudes that I really had respect for before I heard this that didn't want to turn in our page to the Getty, and it's like, what kind of shit is that, man? Like, that's just like silliness. Like, it's just like, what are you doing, man? Like, that's disappointing. And it's like, what did you think you were gonna really stop us from getting in?
No.
Because it worked before.
And my argument is essentially as it is. Cultural misogyny still exists. And we have, as individuals, as men, have to represent these women to get that sense of equity that they have a right to. And also there's a criteria that should be a lot different for women as opposed to men.
I don't think so.
Well, can we achieve that through graph, or is graph just because it's documented and it's telling a perspective? Does it have that much power? Like, can we achieve that through graph, or we're just gonna whatever way we could get there?
Equality for
Equality
women
in all forms.
around the world.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, art could actually be a huge part of it because, like, public art, you know, graffiti is art that's in the public. It's not like, you know, public commissioned art usually, but it's art that's in the public. And so the more women that you see, I think, painting any kind of walls, whether they're graffiti artists, street artists, traditional muralists, that's gonna, like, just make it seem more like women and men, and, you know, on an even numbers do these big creative things, you know?
With over 20 years, was the mural ban that's been uplifted, is that a good or a bad thing for artists? Like, where do you guys stand on that, you know?
It's a good thing for real muralists. It's a
Okay.
good thing for real muralists.
Do you see yourselves benefiting from it, or?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, we worked hard. We helped work on that, and we worked to make sure that, number one, first we worked on it because they were buffing our walls because they were made with spray paint, you know, and they were saying that there was too much signage because we had letters, and really they were just trying to punish us because, you know, we had gone and trying to go a legit route, you know, and that could be that's a huge threat. Art in the streets is a huge threat because people see it and it affects their minds, you know, and so. It's really monumental that for 10 years it was like illegal to put up murals, and people were doing it, but a lot of stuff got buffed, a grip of stuff, and it was so frustrating to get buffed.
And these girls have also been really supportive of that movement. They've been there from the ground.
2002.
Yeah, we've been there yelling in City Hall and doing all these things to make sure that, number one, that we would all have the right to do lettering, that they
And
didn't try to
establishing the
limit our
criteria as well,
lettering.
working with those
And,
city
you know,
ordinances, establishing that specific, you know, very, very important.
I think in reference to the graph community and the mural ordinance, a lot of us want to have bigger walls, and we want to have the opportunity for those walls to be legal through the city. One of the ordinances that they wanted to propose to use as a model is the Portland, Oregon ordinance, and that's what everybody's referring to. If it had more than 10%, what is it? More than
Signage or
10%,
writing.
no,
Signage.
more than 10% writing
There's a
opposed
specific
to
ordinance.
imagery.
So can you imagine
then
if you
it'd
put
be with
a
a sign.
quote, like a quote that'll have
Or if
people,
it was
you know
more
what I
than
mean? There's
10%,
more than
it's
10%,
over.
it would get buffed.
It's not a mural.
Yeah.
Right,
It was-
we
it
have
was like
significant
10% of a
artists that
mural.
have basically been buffed because they've obviously, and that's the LA free walls that have basically been completely obliterated because of the fact that they don't meet the criteria and they violated a city ordinance.
You know,
That's
although
something different. That's about commercial
Well,
art
Commercial
creeping
art,
into,
although you
into
know
graffiti.
the
but-
reason why that the reason why the mural moratorium was in place was because we were trying to separate the language that was in the original
Well, like basically, it was really because of billboard companies and all the rules were tied together with the
Oh,
billboard
with the-
companies and with
the
the sign,
there
the
was one
signage
ordinance
and
and it had
billboards.
signage and murals all in the same ordinance. So the language that it spoke of, you know, although like we want to do murals, we also fell under the signage, under the rules
sign
for like
ordinance, yeah.
regular advertisement, and that's what breaks the difference between like a mural from the gente and
But it was
from, like,
included
dumb
in that.
shit.
That was the.
Yeah, it was all together in
Yeah,
one
it
place,
was just
and
like
that's
they didn't
what
write
we,
it correctly.
that's what we worked on doing. And I mean, we were there, we all worked on it, but like Raul Gonzalez, Mikla Murals, is one of the people who had been there advocating to have something changed, have something happen since day one by himself. Like this guy, like is one of those troopers that made this happen for the rest of us, and even gave us information so that we could get behind this entire like subject.
Definitely. Just the reason why I bring it up, I just want to show your involvement within the art. Like, well, we just called them to hit a book. Like, you guys are more than just that aspect of it. Like, for those that don't know, and I definitely want to show that. You know what I mean? Because you have been involved in most of the information I would get from you on the billboards. I wasn't even aware of that, of the actual band, just not even
Oh,
knowing.
word.
You know what I mean? And just part of and living in Los Angeles and being a huge complainer, you know, like, oh man, that's not a mural. You guys don't write no message, you know what I mean? Not knowing that all these murals were getting buffed, you know, left and right. So I want to thank you guys for, you know, keeping up with that. One of the questions that didn't get asked and on a Saturday, and we wanted to have it addressed was, you remember her name?
Oh yes. Yeah, there was 3 ladies particularly that came to the Las Amazonas event to support us, and they're some of our elders in the movement. There's Isabel Rojas Williams, who is an art historian, and she's a director at Mural Conservancy of Los Angeles, and she's been a big supporter and advocate of us and of our community and the mission to legalize murals and helping graffiti artists to access different spaces. And then the other 2 women was Norma Montoya and Judith Hernandez, who are both artists and muralists, like representing LA from the time of the Chicana movement. And they're like mentors to us, all these women. And we met them through, they're OGs. We met them when we were at City Hall fighting for our rights. We all ended up there kind of together fighting for our rights, and we met each other because we had our common, you know, issue. And we formed like this really awesome kind of like multi-generational coalition. And now we're locked in with some of the old school muralists that were inspiring us all our lives. And now it's time to just reach out to the youth, you know. But please do read the question.
The question went, in as much as male graffiti artists have a history of concentrating on calligraphic forms, as women, do you have any plans or feel a social responsibility to reframe your work individually or collectively to create content that addresses feminist issues?
All right, so I guess to the last part of that, again, like, you know, do I hold myself responsible for what I'm actually putting on the walls? As a graph writer, like, I write on stuff, but as a advocate for this entire movement to move forward and maybe beyond just writing on stuff, I just particularly am that, you know, I fall in that category, but I also fall in different categories. So I guess in one side of me does have a feeling that, yeah, I am slightly responsible to have some of the things go up and have, you know, rep
Yeah.
you know, some of the stuff. But you know, we can't just be vanilla on any of these walls. I don't care if you're a girl or a boy and you're just drawing some like punk shit with no message, and you got this huge wall, this huge opportunity to talk to the youth on the street. Not only just the youth, but just the people who just, you know, on the way home, they need, you know, the grind is horrible. And then not only is the grind like hard, but the grind is it drowns you into a, like, you know, just another brick in the wall type of scenario. And having these images that free you when you're walking or catching the bus or driving in that traffic, and it's that madness. And we need images that inspire, speak, um, just like our ancestors, just like Tlaquilo did. You know what I'm saying? And so we need that to happen in some sort of way. Maybe not, you know, on the feminist tip, but just as a community.
Definitely.
Comunidad. And we need to make that a responsibility. Uh,
It's
know.
beyond just a feminist issue. It's a social. It's every issue that you could think of. Like the responsibility, you guys already aware of that, the impact that it'll have.
Well, I feel like as female graffiti writers, or any kind of obscure female, like any female that's in something where we're the minority, like snowboarders or skaters or whatever, you know, subcultures, female gangsters, whatever. I feel like just our existence is a feminist act. Like just by taking on these roles that we're not supposed to be taking on is a subconscious, like it's an act that works to help equalize and balance things, you know. And so in that way, it's a feminist act. It's not really conscious. But as I learn more information, and I see that I'm not the only woman, and me and my homegirls aren't the only women that have been being oppressed in all these different ways, I feel more responsibility to represent that. But I'm like, you know, I'm kind of more into like surreal art, and I'm not that much into realism, and so it's a challenge I've been thinking about of how do I portray this and stay true to myself artistically. What are the images I think of? Like I've worked on community murals that, you know, I was part of the design, and that has that message, you know, has different messages that are positive about women and just about community. And so I feel like that's a social responsibility if I'm going to be a public artist. Like I don't think that's my responsibility as a graffiti writer or graffiti artist. And then as far as the lettering goes, like that's just what makes us writers. Like it's an obsession. I love it. So it's not like something where I'm like I got to keep up my lettering. It's like I love to keep up my lettering. So I think that I'm not going to make it a certain type of way. Like I feel like I see a lot of dudes doing something that I think is more feminine style, like script type of writing, you know? I'm into like some choppy geometric letters.
Bending letters and stuff.
But we can do it all, you know?
Definitely.
And to all the young women out there listening to this, we can do
Instagram
it all.
at Danger Bees. Where'd the bees come from? What's the bees?
For Queens.
Queen bees.
The Queen Bees.
Queen bees.
I want to thank you guys for coming through. Let them know about the event. They could still go out till September 21st. Go ahead and let them know where they
Oh
can.
yeah, ESMOA, the El Segundo Museum of Art. You can see them on Instagram, Facebook. Just Google it.
208
Google
Main
it. Make sure
Street.
you guys go visit out there, man. It's a good place to take.
Oh,
You know, if you
yeah.
want to break your parents in, it's
Oh,
a good
yeah.
place to take
Oh,
them.
yeah.
For
If
sure.
you want to
for
break
the
your children
family.
in, it's a great place to take them. This
Just
is-
on the presentation alone, like just the way everything is hooked up in there. Anybody that, even if they have no idea what art is, once they walk in there, they'll know it's like on
They
a
feel
higher
it.
caliber. Like, okay, this isn't some, you know.
Yeah,
what I
it's a
mean?
great presentation. And you know what I forgot to mention is that there's actually a Da Vinci book up in there, like a handwritten book by Leonardo da Vinci. So all of the writers in the Getty book are up in the book, up in the same little
Sharing the
exhibit
same
with Da
space.
Vinci. It's pretty
We're
fresh.
showing at the same spot.
Right.
1600, 1500. I don't even know what time they come from, but
And the work's going into the Getty collection.
Yes. An archive. Congratulations, like I said,
Word.
once again, and
Word.
the level of that accomplishment.
Oh, I gotta give
like,
some shout outs.
Go
Shout
for it. Go
out.
for it. For sure.
Shout outs to all the homegirls at ESMOA to help make it happen. I want to shout out Murals and Girls and keep your mission going. Handle. I've been seeing some dope stuff. I want to shout out my homeboys at OG Glass, and I want to shout out my homeboy over at BPLA, Below Poverty Level LA. Yeah.
Some good work right there. Yeah, some good work.
Yeah, one more time. Thanks, Duke. If you're out there. And thanks, Heaven. My new heroes, yeah, for sure.
Oh, and of course all the homegirls that came through.
Oh, everybody, yeah.
Awesome.
Phantom Street Artist, what can we find you? What are you going to be getting? What's in the agenda? What do
I'm
you have
always going to
planned?
be challenging culture in question. That's my agenda.
Watch out, everybody.
Yeah.
Is
so
anyone safe?
Nobody's
No.
safe.
You
No one
already
is
know.
safe. Cultural misogyny still exists. We're 2014. We've got to break those boundaries. We've got to break those chains. You know, it's essentially very important. I want to go ahead and leave a closing statement. Very important that the Phantom Street Artist defines that the great power of street expression and its legitimate art form as a movement of great graffiti artists is not to allow visionary value to be appropriated by institutional power, but to challenge its very institutional power. We out.
www.oghuskyradio.com. Do you want to get into the demand justice, what we put up there real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Before, that's huge. What do you let them know what's up?
You know what? We're at a point right now where we're in a time where in hold on, because I wrote it down. In 1965, Los Angeles experienced what was called the Watts Rebellion.
And we like to call it the Watts Uprising.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's what they did it to us, right? And my mom talks about this, and I think that's why it kind of like touched me when I realized that this is the time right now. And these are the men who have passed at the hands of police. So we need to be careful out there, and we need to demand justice. We cannot let it go down like Trayvon's death went down with no justice. Like, it can't go down like this, guys. Like, it's really something that's like kind of motivated me all day long, where it's been on my mind. And these are four men. This is Eric Gardner, died by police hands July 17. John Crawford died by police hands August 5th. Izzo Ford died by police hands August 11th. Dante Parker died at police hands August 12th. We need to stop police brutality in some way or form and stand up and really like demand this justice. Demand justice.
Without conspiracy theories, but is it coincidence that with the anniversary of the Watts Uprising, we have this military show of force by the police department? Is it kind of like, is it strategically planned in that time to see where they stand, or?
History repeats itself, and we don't learn from our mistakes. That's the lesson, guys.
There it is. Thank you guys once again. OGSKRadio.com. Stay posted.
We out.